We don't have to hit a traditional rock bottom to know it's time for a life change. In fact, treading water in a sea of other people's expectations can exhaust you, even if you thought you were good with that before.
Yeah, living an okay life may not be enough. Feelings of regret and unfulfillment, they can become toxic. And joining us today to share how change is possible at any stage is Master Life Coach and the host of How to Be a Dangerous Woman podcast, Dr. Krystal Conner. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me on.
I love the title of your podcast, first of all. But let's talk about how this is personal for you, this topic. You made a major change in your life after 40 and after having children. What inspired that change, and how did you make it through?
You know, I didn't have a rock bottom moment. I didn't have anything particularly traumatic. For me, it was this dull, gnawing pain that there was something more, that I was meant to have a different impact and that I was meant to show up differently. And I believe a lot of people really have that, but there's this fear of, what does that mean for my life? How is my life going to change if I actually answer this call? And I just decided that I wasn't going to live the rest of my life with that dull pain, and I answered the call and took action to change my life.
What a good way to describe that, too. So what are some signs that people are settling and starting to regret it?
Ooh, there's a couple of signs. The first I would look for would be if you're a person that is always putting stuff off until later, meaning everything is okay as it is, I'll just do it later, or you're constantly making plans, but you don't take action, or you're looking backwards more than forwards. And the biggest red flag is if you find yourself having these internal conversations where you're justifying where you are. I used to do this all the time. You know, it's not that bad. It's okay where I am. I should be happy here. When you start doing those, there's a chance that you're settling in places where you might not have to.
All right. Now, if someone feels the need to make major changes in their life, it can be daunting. How can they talk to friends and family about it?
The best thing to do when you want to make major changes in your life is to, first off, just be honest. That doesn't mean you have to give them the whole plan of action, because you might not know the whole plan, but you want to be honest with them. And then you want to manage your expectations, because just like we have for ourselves, our friends and family have thoughts about who we are, how our life is, and how we show up. And so when you want to make a major change, your family also has to adjust to what that looks like for them. So you want to manage your expectations, because everybody may not be on board initially. And so you want to know what you will do in those instances. So you plan ahead. What will you do if your family doesn't agree or doesn't understand, so that you have a plan of action going into it, and you manage your thoughts around what they may say.
So how do you get past a fear of change? Because there is a real fear that comes with just different, but just changing things up, changing routine.
Just believe that we have to get used to fear being a part of our lives and not always run away from fear and other negative emotions. Fear is not going anywhere. And so if you can get into a relationship where you understand the thoughts that are driving your fears, then you learn how to talk back a little bit. So when you have fears and you're thinking something like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm not sure, you have to answer yourself. Have an answer for that. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. And so you have this internal dialogue that battles with fear rather than just letting it rest and keep you scared and stuck.
We need a Dr. Krystal with us everywhere, right? All the time in our ear.
It sounds like the first conversation is one you have to have with yourself, and an honest one at that. All right, Dr. Krystal Conner, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And for more inspiring life tips, or to listen to the How to Be a Dangerous Woman podcast, go to Dr. Krystal's website. You can also follow her on Instagram at Dr. Krystal Conner.